Okay, here we are recording what I think is just going to be a supplemental component to the last episode because 4 members of the party were off doing one thing while the 5th, Mew, went off to have a meeting with the mayor. And so now we're going to find out what happened in that meeting with the mayor. And I'm actually not totally sure how long or how short it's going to go. It could go a few different ways. So we'll find out together. So let's refresh our memories. The mayor reached out through Amal, who, being the person with thumbs in the equation, is in charge of the cell phone connection.
Yeah.
And said that he needed to see Mew rather urgently.
Mm-hmm. And Mew at first deferred and said, "I'll see you later this evening." And the mayor replied, "Now, please."
Yes. So clearly there's something that cannot wait, or at least in the mayor's opinion, cannot wait.
And I think it was just Mew. I think Amal stuck around.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
So it is just Mew going to see Mayor Espinosa. So, the meeting takes place in the mayor's residence, which is part of the larger complex of All Hallows Hall. We've discussed a little bit before that, All Hallows Hall has this grandiose in scale quality to it, but very, very plain and clean in terms of its internal design. But every mayor decorates the residence in the manner of their own choosing, and Mayor Espinosa's manner is very sumptuous and sort of old world in a kind of I think Baroque. I think it's a fair use of the word Baroque, right? It's a lot of velvet and ornately carved wood, and there's some precious material ornamentation here and there, but it's mostly just very very lavish and lavish in its feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Baroque is kind of all about pulling out all the stops. It's about cramming as much decoration into every square inch as you can.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at here. Not a lot of, it's not vibrant colors because it's mostly like dark woods. There's some red mixed in amongst the black and the silver. So it doesn't pop exactly, but it is full of detail and a general sense of richness and lavish material and design. So let's see. When Mew arrives at the mayor's residence, he's greeted by Gerald, the mayor's ghoul, butler, manservant kind of figure. Again, youngish guy, always wearing sunglasses, frosted tips. He opens the door and directs Mew into the mayor's study, but then immediately goes back to doing something else. Clearly, he's very busy. He's like, he's got a list that he's going over. There's some heavy luggage trunks in the hallway, a few of which are closed and one of which is open, and it's clear he's putting things into the luggage trunks. Yes, so the mayor is waiting for Mew in his study, room with a lot of books, very nice Persian carpet on the floor, a couple of different, like a footstool and then chair has been sort of lined up to make it easy for Mew to hop up to the top of the desk if he's so inclined. There is a bowl of cream waiting for him there.
Mew will avail himself of the chair to make his way up to the desk. He doesn't drink cream. It does not agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Your Honor, I take it that the Sanitation Commission is doing such a good job that you have decided to abdicate.
The mayor is sipping from a champagne flute of blood. And he grins at Mew's statement and says, "Warden, your sense of humor is a constant delight."
Well, the cat doth have claws.
I appreciate your meeting with me on such short notice. I understand you're quite busy with your own regular responsibilities and now with the further duties that have been assigned to you by by the draw of fate, as it were.
Mm-hmm, he says knowingly.
There is a matter that I need some assistance from you and from your compatriots on. You see, before I explain that, let me ask you a question. Do you have any interest in one day serving as mayor yourself?
I don't believe I have made any attempt to conceal my intentions along that avenue.
Indeed. It is a glorious burden, the mayoralty of the city of Salem. I thought that we perhaps could have a discussion about what your intentions would be if you were to put yourself forward as a candidate for the office. What's your vision for our illustrious settlement?
I, in the past, have been a proponent of law and order. I have grown over the millennia, however. My interest lies more in justice for all. I'm not sure if you are aware of the extent of my involvement in the Salem fire.
The mayor gestures expansively as an invitation to proceed.
I was active at that time. My appointed charges, the Nesbits, being quiet for some time, I sought to aid others in need of organization. The leather workers. I saw that they were being treated unjustly and assisted them in organizing for their own benefit. And although I have no evidence, I believe that the owners of the leather mills made them a target for Ishmael. Ishmael was looking to cause trouble somewhere, but the masters of the mill offered their own as a sacrifice.
And what lesson did you learn from this unfortunate turn of events?
I learned that justice must come from those in power.
Well, of course, as mayor, one is often called upon to help the arc of our city's moral universe bend towards justice. Now, what sort of plan do you have for your campaign? You have, I hope, the resources necessary to conduct an administration?
Resources I have plenty of. As for my other campaign plans, I would prefer to keep the details to myself.
I understand. I only meant that, of course, serving as the mayor of Salem is quite expensive. We have no authority to levy taxes unilaterally, and the conclave as a whole is rather stingy with the purse strings. Most of the expenses of the administration of the state fall to the mayor themselves. So it's good to make sure that you have enough in the bank, so to speak, to keep the engine running.
Of course.
Now, there are different ways to approach this. Some of us have personal fortunes to fall back on, but the honor of this position is not meant to be limited to those of great means. So sometimes some candidates work out some sort of a arrangement in advance with a set of wealthy benefactors who will support their candidacy, for instance. There's also the matter of arranging the requisite endorsements, or if not requisite, then at least the sorts of endorsements that would help to sway, say, this faction or that. You seem to be growing closer, I would venture to guess, with the folks that you serve on the sanitary commission with.
I am getting to know them better.
And here we have quite an assemblage, just as fate happens to have arranged these things. The nominal leader of one of the oldest factions of Magi in the city's environments, young scion of the most foremost family of changing folks, not to mention, of course, a up-and-coming Cainite with a great deal of influence with a number of the less aligned folks in the city.
Ms. Ball?
Yes.
I believe she is good at making things happen that need to happen, and which I would not be able to directly make happen.
And, well, I'm not quite sure how to categorize your fourth, but I think that she's an interesting wild card, don't you?
Of course.
Very good. Well, while I, of course, as mayor, won't be offering any direct endorsement as to who my successor might be, I would be pleased to support in any way that I can a candidate with an interest in justice of the sort you describe. It is a delicate thing, this city. It persists only because a great many people bend a great many resources and a great deal of will to creating something that benefits others as much or more than it benefits them. We have survived under our current constitution for less than a century because every person who has held this office, with one obvious notable exception, has placed the good of the collective above their own personal good. I believe you may be someone who meets that all-important qualification.
Well, I thank you for that generous observation.
What do you think you will do first when you are Mayor Mew?
If I'm reading between your lines correctly, I believe you have some ideas of your own, what first steps I might take.
The mayor puts down his glass. Please don't misunderstand me, Warden. I might have suggestions for what to do with the fullness of your 7 years in office, but the question is an honest one. I do like to know the nature of the horse I'm backing, or the cat in this case. This next electoral cycle, the vote to be held on Halloween, you'll be up against Ophelia Tremay, I imagine. She's gone through her requisite 7 cycles now without running for re-election.
Just a reminder.
A serious contender. Yep.
Reminder on Ophelia Tremay? That's not...
Ophelia Tremay is the intendant of the blood, the person who was the ghoul administrator of Salem during the later years of Mr. Chamberlain's regime, right? During the period where Mr. Chamberlain sort of dominated Salem, Ophelia Tremay was kind of the person who actually spoke for him because he wasn't around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then she continued to hang around in Salem after Mr. Chamberlain went off and did whatever he's doing now. And she was previously the mayor of Salem under the current constitution. But there's a 7 cycle. Like, you have to, if you've been mayor, you have to wait 49 more years before you can be mayor again.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Espinoza already did that. This is his second term, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was the person who was mayor after Mayor Espinoza. So she'll be eligible for election for the next mayoralty.
I bear the Honorable Ms. Tremay no ill will. There's no, as it were, bad blood between us. But if we are speaking of blood, I believe freshness is a key quality. in a mayor.
You know, there's wisdom in that, obviously, my present circumstance notwithstanding. Now, you've been wardened for some time in Harmony Grove. You have the support, I assume, of the remnant of the Nesbits. Could perhaps leverage some additional votes from your compatriots on the commission. But you know, it doesn't hurt to have an opportunity to really demonstrate one's love for our city, commitment to its well-being under significant pressure and demand, especially in the months approaching an election. Now, let me get to the specific reason I asked you here and on such a tight time frame. I have to leave the city for a few days. It shouldn't take long. It's just a matter of diplomacy that I and a few others have to attend to the west. But while the mayor is absent from the city, someone or someones have to be given nominal responsibility for it. That's what the Constitution says anyway. And because you and the other members of the commission are the most recent appointees, that responsibility will fall to you. Now, remember what I've already said. This is a heavy and terrible honor to be mayor, and the commission as a whole won't exactly have all of the pomp and circumstance and weight of it. But you would be called upon to adjudicate any disputes between the various wardens and legates. You would have a certain ceremonial role, just for a few days.
I believe I understand. You do not wish to be the hand that holds the sword when it comes to the execution of Ishmael.
Oh, no. No. Please don't misunderstand me. I will be back before the weekend. Absolutely not. In any event, the Constitution is clear on this point. The mayor themselves must be present for any execution. It's not possible to conduct one in my absence. So I will be absolutely certain to return by then. This is a formality, but it could be an opportunity as well.
Mew grooms his tail, which is fluffed up a little bit.
I do not mean to ask you to take on any responsibility which I would not conduct myself. But if in October you are able to stand before the conclave and say, I, together with my illustrious colleagues, briefly undertook the full responsibility of holding order and administering justly in our great city, in the necessary absence of Mayor Espinosa and a few of his colleagues, then I believe it might go a long way towards helping you attain your ambition.
Well, it is a very generous offer. I can see the wisdom in it, in your decision. Some of it, at least. The full extent of your wisdom, I'm certain, will become clear within a couple of days. Regardless, I think you are making the correct choice.
Excellent. He slaps the table in front of him. And
now it would make things easier for my road to the mayoralty if there were some way that the vote were extended to other members of our veiled community. I realize this would be an unprecedented amendment to our Constitution with many potential pitfalls. But if I know you are up to a political challenge. I have long made it known that I wish the dead to have a say in the politics of our community. Anything you can do to enfranchise them, I would appreciate.
Mayor Espinoza leans back in his chair. Well, that is a tall order. I'm not opposed to it in principle, of course, but the reasons for why the dead have never had the privilege of a vote are well established. I'll tell you what. There's still Beltane to go. We could bring a proposal before the conclave then. I can't guarantee which way it would go, but even if it didn't go your way, a stirring speech, rousing pain to justice, inclusivity, could win you enough votes all on its own. And then, well, once you were mayor, you'd be free to forward that agenda.
Indeed. Sometimes all that is needed is for voices to be heard.
Sometimes, yes. Well, I believe that we are two people who understand each other, Warden.
I would not go that far on either count. Not in full. But on this, we are at least in agreement.
Very well. Well, I do have to be... He stands up, adjusts his jacket a bit. I have to be going if we are to meet our rather demanding timetable. As I said, 1 or 2 days, 3 at the most, certainly back by the weekend. You will tell your fellow commissioners for me?
I shall.
Very good. Then in a few days' time, I will see you again. We'll complete this unpleasant business with Ishmael, and then you and I can discuss the motion to be put forward at Beltane in a grand gesture of magnanimity from the state to its dead subjects. All right?
All right. He offers a little paw to shake.
The mayor definitely reaches out and carefully shakes it. His hands are exceedingly soft, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Before you go, let's call this a new tradition between meetings. A riddle. That you may answer it upon our next meeting.
The mayor raises one eyebrow and says, it's a bit on the nose for the whole Sphinx thing, but please, I love riddles.
Mew assumes a very statuesque pose. I went into the woods and got it. I sat down to find it. I brought it home with me because I could not find it. Of course, no need to answer immediately. If you can, I would be delighted.
I'll give you the answer when I see you next, Warden.
Next time.
That's it this week for The Chimera. Our theme music this season is Down Among the Dead Men, performed by Adrienne Howard, Emily Peterson, and Dirk I. Tiede. For information on other music used in this episode, check the show notes. You can support The Chimera by going to patreon.com/chimerapod. Patrons at any amount get access to behind-the-scenes setting and system info, art polls, and exclusive side games and one-shots. You can also find us online at thechimera.space or on Twitter and Facebook at ChimeraPod. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode, so until then, thanks for listening.